2414 is a podcast about finding hope and common ground through casual conversation. Like the friends on the road in the New Testament, in Luke chapter 24, verse 14, we want to walk away with more understanding that leads to more conversation as the journey continues. Thanks for walking with us.
Why are we doing the applause track? That's
because we did it.
because we can. Well, hello. Welcome to 2414. My name's Dan. That's Shane.
Hey.
Question of the day is, you ever have that now what moment where you are looking forward to something, you're building up towards it, you've maybe been laboring or preparing, it's a big date, it's been circled on your calendar for a while, it happens, and then it's Monday, and you go back to work or back to school or back to normal life, and it's just over. That's what we're going to talk about today. But first, introductions, highs and lows. As I said earlier, I'm Dan Weber, one of the pastors here at St. Luke's, co-host of 2414, sitting across from my friend and coworker. And I was going to say, used to be neighbor. You were never that close, but you've moved farther away, I think.
It's a little further. It's closer yet further because we're just down the coast.
Down the coast of the Sound. Is it a coast? Is it called the coast? The shore?
I feel like in some parts it is.
Maybe shore?
The shore of the Sound. Coast of the Sound. If you know, please tell us.
Coast of the Sound. Yeah.
I don't know.
Comment below if you know what it's called. But my musician friend, as I like to call him, Shane Wilper.
Yeah.
Hey, Shane.
Hey. We're here.
We're here. It's been a couple weeks. Sorry. That's life. We're just regular guys who have full-time jobs, and this isn't it.
Yeah.
But we have fun doing this.
It's just a fun side project.
It's a good call. It's a side project. It's not a side hustle because that implies you're getting paid. This is not a side hustle. This is a side project.
Oh, we're far from hustling, people. we can do better. No.
Shane, lows, highs. How have you been for the past 2.5 weeks since we've talked?
It's been great. So we just finished Easter, but we'll talk about that. So now we're 2.5, 3 weeks past Easter. And with that, Lauren and I kind of planned a delayed vacation afterwards.
Okay.
And this past weekend, as of near the end of April,
sure.
We took a Disney cruise, 3-night, 4-day cruise
from here in Seattle, or did you have a different port?
You could, I guess.
What do they call it? A port of?
Port of, yeah. Well, we departed from San Diego.
Okay.
Went to Ensenada, Mexico, and then back to San Diego. First time on a boat for more than 3 hours.
Okay.
So I went like tubing. I've been on lakes in Wisconsin and whatnot, but
this was different.
Very different. Okay. Yeah.
Pacific Ocean, different than
the Pacific Ocean, and it was great. It was phenomenal. So it was a Disney cruise. Okay. And our main motivation was one of Lauren and I's high school friends. Is a cast member for the shows, for the performances.
Cool.
And it was just so fun to see like her in her element, because she went to school in New York for acting and for performing, and she landed this gig on the Disney Wonder. That's the name of the ship. Okay. And they put on incredible shows, Broadway caliber. It's so good.
Are they piping Disney music through the corridors 24/7?
Kind of.
Okay. I would like that. I'd be a fan.
Yeah. And it was really fun. Her name's Michaela. She told us, she's like, hey, bring pirate clothes. Because one of the nights is going to be pirate night. And we're like, okay.
If she didn't tell you, would you have known that? Is that broadcasted somewhere? Or do people just pack random costumes in case there's a theme night?
There was an app that you kind of had to live through. So I'm sure if we did enough research, we could have known. But she told us, and we went 110%.
Oh my gosh.
We may or may not have borrowed from the theater closet.
Wow.
And I found this massive Admiral jacket that took up half of my backpack.
Worth it.
And this Buccaneer hat. And I've been growing my mustache out for a while. Yeah. So I put wax in it. I twirled it. I went full. Both Lauren and I went 110%.
She's growing her mustache out as well?
No. But she also she got some pirate costumes,
Cool.
and so I'm spending a lot of time on this, but it was just amazing. People came up to us and were like, "Are you work here?" On the ship. And we're like, "No, we just we went all out."
Did you have an accent?
I did.
Yes.
I have my pirate accent that I
love
bust
it.
out. It kind of sounds like Barbarossa.
Okay.
Barbossa, not Barbarossa. Barbossa from the Black Pearl.
Yeah.
But great time. It was rejuvenating. It was amazing. I spent a ton of time on this cruise. It was just very magical. I was a child. I just
Can you make a picture of you as the pirate as our thumbnail for this episode? Is that possible? It'd be worth it.
We'll see how motivated I am.
Don't work more than 2 hours on it, but it's worth 2 hours of effort.
2 hours?
I think that would be great.
How much time do you think it takes?
I don't know. If it's less than 2 hours, you should be able to do it.
All right.
All right. So that's your high. Any lows?
That's my high. Low, yeah. I am major sad. So the Milwaukee Bucks made history in the worst way possible last
official.
night.
Oh no.
They were the number one team in all of the NBA heading into the playoffs. Number one seed, number one in all of the standings. They had the highest record, and they got beat by the lowest seed 4-1.
Ooh.
That does not
Was
happen.
the final game at home or on the road?
It was at home.
So they lost in front of the home crowd.
Home crowd. No. They had it. They had the win too, and they just choked in the last minute, and then went in overtime, and they just. Go Kraken. Woo. I'm ready.
How many years ago did they win the championship?
I was 2021.
Okay,
and that was my during kind of in my during Lauren and I's honeymoon.
Okay.
And then when we got home, oh my gosh, that was magical. Now it's just you can't do this. I digress. Go Kraken.
Okay.
That's it for me.
That's rough.
Question of the day, I guess, is the prompt. So I'll pass it over to you.
All right.
Or right.
Lows and highs.
Yeah.
I a silly sports related low. My St. Louis Cardinals forgot baseball season started. Nobody told them.
I mean, I don't know if that's a low. I mean,
it can be your highs that the Cardinals are losing, but they are currently in last place in the Central and bottom 10 of Major League Baseball.
And the Pirates are doing well.
Yeah. So Cardinals are losing. That's a low. And I had an 8-hour window last week where I told my wife, I feel like I'm kind of on top of things. Yeah. And then that just came crashing down. Yeah. And so I'm feeling I'm kind of drowning right now.
You got too confident.
I did. I felt, I don't know. And I wasn't gloating. I don't knock on wood. I was just giving thanks of, I'm thankful for this. And it was short-lived. One high, Seattle Kraken. By the time this is released, who knows what's going to be reality. Mm-hmm. But right now they're up 3-2 over the Colorado Avalanche, the defending Stanley Cup champions.
And when this episode releases, they will either advance or be waiting for Game 7.
Oh my goodness. All right, so stay tuned. So they're winning. That's fun. And I did get to go to a St. Louis Cardinals game. They're playing the Seattle Mariners. They were in town.
Yeah.
So I saw a Cardinals Mariners game, and I had a really random 3-step joke that wasn't a joke. It was just sometimes I just say things for my own humor during church. And I made a comment that I was going to the Mariners game. I didn't say the Cardinals game. I'm going to the Mariners game, and I really hope they can turn it around from their last couple games. Because the last couple games they had beat the Cardinals, and so you had to know the record, you had to know who they were playing, and who I'm rooting for. And a couple people smiled, I get what he did there.
So 3 people pieced that together,
but several other people were like, "What is he saying? The Mariners are doing great. Why would he want them to turn it around?" And then I was like, "Exactly." So the Cardinals won the game I went to. They lost the first 2 I didn't go to, and then they won the game I went to.
That's a best case scenario for you.
I was texting my buddy who's a pastor in Seattle. And I said, I guess he's from St. Louis as well. I said, I picked a great game to go to. And he texted back we went to Friday and Saturday and then lost both games. Oh. So he went to 2, saw no wins. I was 1 for 1.
That's so sad.
So that's a high. And then another high is I ran a half marathon in Issaquah at Squawk Mountain last weekend.
Squawk Mountain. Okay,
it was brutal.
Was it the elevation brutal?
Yeah. So over 13 miles, it was around 4,000 feet of elevation.
40,000?
40. 40,000.
Sorry, I misheard.
It was just a ladder. It was 13 miles up. It was a ladder race. It's a new thing.
Incredible.
No, so it's 4,000 feet of elevation gain, which is a lot more than I'm used to. But the good news, besides the fact that the run went okay, was that I'm at I think I'm growing up, Shane. I'm maturing.
Oh, yeah. How so? Yeah,
So several months ago, I signed up for a 50-kilometer race, so 31 miles.
31 miles.
And the same race that had several different distances. There's a 12K, a 13-mile, and a 50-kilometer or 31 miles. Mm-hmm. And I had ambitions to be training, and I did not train. I did not. And I usually, my trick is I have to sign up for a race that's scary enough that it will motivate me to train.
Yeah.
Because I got to a point where I'm like, I can just kind of fake that. Like I could pull that off.
Blackmail yourself a little.
And so I have to, if I put money down and it's scary enough that I'm going to hurt myself if I don't train.
When you say put money, you mean like to register?
Register for the race.
Not betting on
Yeah, no, I'm not. There's no betting here. But I paid a registration fee. That's a strong motivator for me.
Yeah.
So I signed up for this 31-mile race on this course, which is very, very steep. And a week before I realized, I haven't run more than about 10 miles at a time for months.
Yeah.
I wonder, how I'm doing. So I did a 13-mile run in my local trails, which are a third of the elevation gain as this one.
Oh, wow.
And I couldn't walk the next day, and I was really tired. And so this is my growing up maturity moment. I swallowed my pride and emailed, and said, I need to change the distances. I bit off more than I could chew. I can't do the 31. Can I do the 13? So it was a humbling moment.
So you had to kind of dip yourself down a notch, but did it work?
It was the best decision. I don't know if I could have done the 31 miles in the time cutoff. I don't know if I could have.
What's the time cutoff?
I don't remember, but it was scary.
So you had to be good to good enough to complete the 31.
It's hard to fake 31 miles in the woods.
You don't have many options
because that would have been about over 10,000 feet of elevation climbing.
10,000.
Yeah. And up and down. So the win was I had the humility. I did it. I was able to walk later that day.
Oh, okay.
I may have been able to hike through it, but it would have been ugly. And then my race that I did do, there were 98 people, and I was in the top half. Top half my age group, felt pretty good.
Yeah.
And I looked at the results for the 50K. 8 people did it.
Only 8.
So I would have been by myself for hours in the woods, unknown. It would not have been good.
You would have died. That would have been it.
I would need an IV afterwards. I wouldn't have been walking for days. It would not have been good.
Jeez. Well, you did the 13.
So
That's
I did my
impressive
13.
to me.
Felt great. I'm smiling in the pictures. I think I might even have both feet off the ground in one of the pictures. They always have these pictures of the race, and it always looks like I'm walking. Both? It looks like I'm just walking in a still frame.
Oh,
so
no.
At least one of the pictures, you can tell that I'm trying to jog, or at least I'm pretending to jog. So that feels pretty good.
Well, that's good. Oh, man.
So in some ways, that kind of reminds me of our topic today.
Yeah.
So
post goals? That's a good way to describe it.
So I what I'm thinking of is a really broad thing that applies to lots of different settings. But so let me describe what I'm thinking, and maybe you could give me some examples for you or other people. But you're working towards something. You've got it circled on your calendar. It's a big goal or a big moment. It's something that you're anticipating. It's a positive thing. You're excited about it. You're putting in effort towards it, and then it happens. And then it's over, and then life goes back to normal. And it's that now what moment that I kind of want to press into.
Yeah.
So do you have any examples for you or for other people of something that somebody works really hard for or is looking forward to for a long time, and then it's just kind of over?
Yeah. I mean, I think one that, kind of goes hand in hand with what we do here would be, Easter.
Yeah.
It's a big service. A lot of prep work goes into it for not just myself, but for a lot of people. It's kind of the culmination of the church year.
Yeah.
And that's what our job is kind of based around. So, this big service, there's a lot of effort, a lot of planning that goes into it. And then the service is done. And it's just, that's done.
That's it.
Next Sunday. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We just finished that. And I think what's funny is like as a child, you do these big events, like I don't know. I'd try to think like a concert or like a school project or I don't know, like a sporting event as a kid. And like once you complete it, once you finish your goal, you've got like all these like parents and, friends and like adults like, good job, buddy. Yeah.
People are cheering for you. Attaboys.
Like for like, at least in my job, like Easter, it's like, I did it.
Do your job.
Go home. Come on, you're done. Yeah. Like, oh, all right. Okay. Like
that's it.
I don't have it.
Nope. Nobody's patting you on the back for days to come.
Yeah. No. Like let's go get you ice cream, buddy. Like, oh, okay. Well, no, it's just me. Like I'm gonna go buy myself
sad ice cream sandwich sitting on the curb. Oh man.
Like there are people that say great job. Like there are incredible people here, but it's different.
But I would say even if you did the most amazing job, you could have worked 6 months for Easter ahead of time. You could have had the best Easter possible within 6 days or 6 weeks. Like nobody's saying it. Even if you nailed it, there's nobody talking about it anymore.
Yeah, it's done. Like that's what you're working towards, and all of a sudden it's just.
So Easter is when you mentioned. I was thinking about we saw a production of Les Mis, which my kids, by the way, are hilarious. If you're listening to this, I love you. They say Les Miserables, which is not.
Well, if it helps, when I was a senior in high school, saw the title for the first time, I said Les Miserables, and was so confused.
That's more accurate. No. So we have a number of young people in our congregation who are part of that local production at the high school.
Yeah.
And I was talking to one of them, I guess last night, asking how much like work went into that, like how many hours of shows and how when did rehearsals start. It was months, right? Months and months of hours and hours of rehearsals, and then they had 2 weekends I think of shows, which went amazing. And then just Monday you go back to school,
and that's it.
And maybe that week people are saying, "Oh, you were great," and then the next week maybe a couple people say something, and you can write it down for like some college application someday, but a month after it's just done. And like that's a weird thing to process. That I went through this a number of times personally, where just really grieving and almost I don't want to say depressed in a like joking way, but feeling like really down, just really like spent and disappointed. So the first couple times for me was doing either a marathon or my first Ironman triathlon. So like a sporting event where I signed up for something scary and actually did the training. Yeah. And for like Ironman, you had to register a year out, like the day after the race, you could register for next year.
And for something like that, were you prepping for that before the year?
Yeah, so I was kind of doing.
I know I'm going to register it, and I'm waiting for it to open. Or once it opens, that's when training starts.
So like this Ironman thing, I think is a good example that to register for it, they were selling out really quickly, and it was something like $600 or $800. It was a significant registration fee.
Yeah,
and so I had to know that I thought I could do it. Before I'm dropping $600 on this thing, I better be pretty sure I can do it.
That's just insane to me, by the way. $600 to work,
and maybe
your
it's
butt
more.
off.
I don't know.
But they should be paying you.
Yeah. So I was training leading up to the year out mark, so that I knew, can I put money down on this thing? So then I signed up, and then it's like for real, I'm training now. Yeah. So it's 12 months of I had a daily regimen, whether it's resting or swimming or biking, running, or nutrition.
And for me and other listeners at home, what's the distance again for those?
2.4 mile swim, 112 mile bike ride, and then a marathon of 26.2 miles.
So over 100 miles of biking. Like I know biking's a little easier than running, but like
it's boring.
It's boring. Yeah. What? Yeah.
So Ironman, it's a whole other episode.
Yeah.
But my point was, so I trained for well over a year, and it was this super amazing day. People are like crying through the finish line, getting hugs and embraced, and you're feeling exhausted and euphoric.
Yeah.
And then it's just over. Like I had this calendar on my fridge that gave me purpose. Every single day I knew what I was supposed to do. I had a goal in mind. I was aiming at something.
Yeah.
It's something I wanted to do.
Actively working to achieve this thing.
And then it was just done.
Just
so I've got a couple more examples, but what about you? Do you have any, you mentioned Easter, anything else in your life?
Like graduation, like for music majors at Concordia Irvine, you had at least at the time, you had an option to, I think, either like do a senior thesis. So like you kind of have a project presentation with a, thesis behind it, and you kind of showcase that. Or you could do a recital for you got to do in junior year and senior year. For juniors, it's a 30-minute like long recital. Senior year, it's an hour long. And when I say hour, an hour's worth of music. So an hour, so it'll be a little over an hour, but the music itself covers about an hour. And that's kind of like the big thing you're working towards all throughout college. Like you're building your repertoire. And when I say like music, a lot of this is like a different language. So you're memorizing these solo art songs in French, German, Italian. It could be Latin. You can do English, but you're required at least like 2 to 3 different languages.
Okay.
And so you're just working these aren't like simple songs either. These are like classical works of art that take a lot of practice to like even train your voice to like hit some of these notes. And so it's just like, and you can, at some point in your senior year, you got to present this project. So I could do my next to my graduation. I pushed wait till the last like bitter end because like family's in town. I want them to see it. They're not going to book 2 different flights so it kind of, for me, worked out best to like wait till like during finals week to do it, which had pros and cons, but it's done, whatever. So like day comes, have this big recital, try to see all your friends, family there, like cheering you on. It's kind of similar-esque. And then it's finished, and at least for me, like the next day or 2 later, graduation, awesome, did it, college. And I didn't have anything set up after college. Apparently the job market at that time in California was hard. But so it was just done. And it was like, okay. Like I don't have a meal plan anymore. I don't have a room. I'm like
on the street.
This is it.
Yeah.
So it's just that remind, like, I think at least school, like you're working towards a degree or like this recital project, and in my case they were both at the same time pretty much, and it was just done. Like, what am I working towards now? Like living? Like, okay. All right.
Yeah. Another one for me is I've been able to work with the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, that youth gathering. Used to be called the National Youth Gathering. Now it's just Youth Gathering. Yeah. And so it's this 3-year cycle where every 3 years, some 20,000 or so people descend on a city for several days of programming.
Mostly high schoolers.
Yeah, mostly it's the largest gathering of high schoolers in our church body. It's also the largest gathering of adults in our church body.
Wow.
Because it takes a lot of adults. I don't like the word chaperone because they're more like partners.
But it takes a lot of people.
Takes a lot of people, and it takes a lot of people to make the event happen behind the scenes. And so, for the last few years, I've been working with called stadium events or mass events where everybody will gather in. It was in Minute Maid Park where the Houston Astros play this last time, and 20,000 or so people for a 90-minute event plus kind of pre-show stuff each night. And so, working for 2+ years, leading a team, creating content, making everything happen, and then you're there, and the kids are there, and the music is rocking, and the speakers are amazing, and the artistic visions have come to life, and then you blink, and we're taking down chairs and tables.
And how long is the whole event? From
5 days or so.
5 days. So 3 years of planning, 5 days, just.
Yeah, and then the stadium's empty, and you're loading up bins and packing up trucks, and
just moving on to the next one.
Sort of, but not necessarily. So, then you go to the airport, and you're sitting by yourself, catching a 5-hour flight home by yourself, and all the strangers on the flight, and like they don't care what you did, and they don't know.
Yeah.
And so having done the first time that, it was really sad and grieving afterwards. And so now that I'm helping lead a team, I realized how important it is. I gotta prep my people for this.
Yeah.
That, hey, we're about to do the thing we've been setting out to do, which is great, but it's going to be over, and that's not going to be great, and it's going to be really hard. So that's kind of, I don't know. I want to kind of talk through some of these emotions of what that feels like when the big thing's over.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because like talking to you, I sense a lot of kind of like grief from you from this post.
Very much.
And for me, I get a lot of I don't know how to describe it, like eagerness for it to be done in like the same amount that I'm looking forward to it. So like I'm excited for the moment of like, this is the culmination of everything. Yes. But leading, like, especially in like the few weeks leading up to this big moment. So like the big moment to the recital or the big moment to Easter, I'm looking forward to it for sure. But like in some ways I really am also looking forward to it being done. Yeah. Like, so like I'm working my butt off. Like it's like for this, whatever this is, to be good, because I want to do my best. And
you want it to be done.
And and I'm also just like, I can't wait for this just to be done. Yeah. Just like, like I did it. Like, like in some like self-gratification, like now that I am adult, like they don't have like my parents, adults, whatever, like patting me on the back. Like I get to celebrate me. Like I did it. Like I get to like go home, relax, and like never. It's something like that's never felt more earned at that moment, to like, just like, I don't feel bad. I was playing Xbox for hours the whole day, like, cause I worked my butt off. Like,
I think even there you kind of named or hinted at two different emotions. Well, several ones that are related. So one, what you just ended on, is the celebration fact. Like, so when a big thing happens, it could be a piano recital or a performance, or maybe it's a wedding. You've been planning a wedding for 6 months, or a job project, or an athletic event. So one of the feelings I experience is the celebration. Like, we did it. I did it. Our team did it. You know, your coach, your mentor, they've seen your efforts. You've grown. Yeah. It's like a celebration.
Yeah. And for me, I don't really feel much of that grief.
Okay.
Or at least maybe I've never done like an event that big enough where it's like been kind of almost years, and like college a little, but I'm not much of a student, I'll be honest. So, like, academia is not my, but some, it's like leading up to something, like, yes, I celebrate it's over. And like, as for like any kind of grief I might have afterward, I maybe it's just perspective, or maybe it's just, I don't know, but I see it and I'm like, those are amazing memories. Like the moment, regardless if it went terrible or amazing, like I look back at it and like, that's what it was. And that's what I'm like, that's the memory that's part of me now.
Yeah. I love that celebration. I want to I guess we'll talk about grief right there for a second.
Yeah, might as well.
One of the angles of grief for me is, I think it's oftentimes the people that I was experiencing it with. So, you know, like if it's a sports team, like, you know, it's interesting how we borrow metaphors from everywhere. Like, you're in the trenches with those guys. We're not in trenches. Those are people who are in the armed services. That's a different thing.
That's very different.
But even there, I think there's something about like, if to transition from being in the military to being a civilian, you had this group of people who knew your world, who you shared very difficult and powerful experiences. And then you go get a desk job wearing a suit somewhere, and they don't get it.
They did not experience anything that you did.
And so like that's, again, I've been a civilian my whole life. I don't want to pretend otherwise. But like, so with this youth gathering, like we spent hours. I mean, it's not an exaggeration to say, you know, what translated to a 3-minute thing on the stage, we may have spent 17 hours working on each, you know? And then when it's over, like, I don't have that time. So I can celebrate the time we had together, but it's also gone. I don't have that time anymore. I loved that time so much. I miss it now. Or having line mates in my hockey team. Like, I loved playing with these guys.
Yeah.
But now I don't play, and I can remember it, but I don't have those guys in my life anymore.
So it's a bit of kind of just like a void, like afterward, like that.
Yeah, we invested in this thing.
You can't fill the same way that you did after this. So you gotta, in some ways, kind of, I don't know. I'm just trying to, so like in some ways kind of move on.
Yeah. So I guess remembering it isn't the same as doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, 30 years from now, when we're maybe at different spots in our lives, I can remember that we did a podcast and how fun that was. Yeah. But remembering it's not going to be nearly as fun as sitting down and doing this with you.
Yeah.
And so like that's the kind of the grief of I guess I've lived something of a transitory life for a while too. I've moved around a whole lot. This is the longest. We just had our 6th year anniversary, by the way.
6th?
Yeah. Here at St. Luke's.
Oh.
So Easter Sunday was my 6th year here.
That's right. Yeah.
So that's the longest I've lived anywhere since my childhood home. And so, so for a lot of my relationships, sometimes the only context I'll be with a person is through an event.
Yeah.
So maybe it's a training buddy for a race or people at the youth gathering that apart from that thing that held us together, I don't see them. So when the thing is over, I'm also kind of saying goodbye to them. So I think that's part of it. So I think another feeling for me is it's like celebration, but the relief when something's over. Yeah, I heard you saying that with your senior recital a little bit.
Relief I think is a good word. Yeah, it's a word I'm thinking for that. It's like I can breathe now. I'm not like pressing, straining to perfect this thing anymore. It like doesn't matter. Yeah, like I was saying, it doesn't matter if it was like it was as best it could have been, or it fell apart and it was terrible. It's done.
It's done. Yeah, my half marathon this weekend. Yeah, it was a couple loops in the woods, and there was an aid station where people are giving out water and snacks, and they're pointing directions because you could get lost. And they said, this way to the second loop or this way to the finish. And I was tired, and I was going to the finish, and I told this random strangers I'd never seen before. I'm like, I just want to go home. Like I'm tired. It hurts. I'm hungry. People are chafing all around me in horrible ways. I just want to go home. and in that moment I realized like I paid for this event. I wanted to do this. Nobody's making me do this. I chose to do it. And I very much felt the celebration when it was, done. But in that moment, I just wanted to be done with it. And I think that's kind of a weird feeling of you chose to do something that is good, and maybe you could even feel bad or guilty about wanting it to be over.
Yeah.
I just want to kind of acknowledge that.
I think people could like. I have felt guilty sometimes because I remember my teacher asking me. He was like, "Are you excited? Like, are you excited for your recital?" I was like, "Yeah, like I'm also excited to be done." He's like, "Oh, like, well, I don't mean it like that, but like, like I think maybe that's okay. Should I feel bad now? Like,
yeah." I kind of want to like normalize that. It's okay. Yeah. It's like say you're planning your wedding and you're hopefully looking forward to your wedding. If you're not, you don't have to do it. But there's also like, I can't wait for Monday. Like I want it to be done. There's a relief of, and that feels weird to be working for something and wanting it to not be in front of you anymore. Like I want to work towards this and I also don't.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. It's both. I don't know.
Yeah. So relief is one of my feelings when it's over. A celebration, like we did it. I did it. Kind of I mentioned that grief several times of the sadness of, the journey's over or the event happened. Yeah. And then at least one of the final ones I can think of is sort of like a regret of a couple kinds of regret.
So like, it's like why did I do that?
Or maybe I'm thinking more of like, it didn't live up to what I wanted it to be, or I didn't do as well as I wanted to do. So if I was working for a goal for months and months, or maybe it was even a shorter goal, but like a very invested thing, with that much anticipation, chances are it's not going to be as perfect as you wanted. And it might even be your fault that it wasn't that perfect. So maybe it's not your fault at all. Maybe, you planned this great wedding and one of your bridesmaids got sick and, it threw off the count and now the pictures are weird.
Yeah.
Or the flower girl, threw a fit, or maybe I'm training for my Ironman and I get 2 flat tires and, I don't finish the race. And I spent 12 months doing this thing and it didn't, so there's kind of, it didn't live up to what I wanted. Or maybe it's a recital and you didn't work as much time with a certain piece because you knew you had it and then you didn't have it.
Yeah.
Or you worked everything, you did everything you could and you fine tuned it and you still didn't nail it.
Yeah.
And that the more I was anticipating something, the bigger the expectations are and the more pressure it feels like.
That does make you think for like, certain times, I guess, like when I was in high school, I was competing more in athletics. Like everyone, I guess, is working towards the same goal, but only one school, one team is going to get it. And so 99% of the other schools, there's going to be a lot of regret at the end of that. Like maybe I think did you work like as hard as you could? Like, no, you lost, but like you could have also worked as hard as you could have. Like,
yeah, I think it goes both ways though. So I remember making fun of a Cubs fan not too long ago. But that's a normal part of my daily life.
I was going to say that's normal.
But I remember, gosh, well, a couple of baseball things here. One is I think it was 2006. Is that when the Cardinals won the World Series? I forget.
I try to repress that.
It just happens so often. It's hard to keep track of all of them. But so I was on Vicarage. Charlotte and I were living in Oklahoma, and she was working at PetSmart part time. And so I'm on our like 1-bedroom apartment. And I'm watching the World Series, and the Cardinals won, and I was like, "Whoa!" Just by myself. And all right, I guess I'll go to the work tomorrow morning. Like nobody cared. So that was like kind of a letdown. But where I made fun of my Cubs friends, where I was saying how, which by the way, the Cubs are ahead of the Cardinals. I get it. You don't have to tell me. You don't have to write in. But but typically, the St. Louis Cardinals have a history of going deep into the postseason. And what I was telling my Cubs friends was that they get off easy. When your season finishes in September, you enjoy fall. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
But every round that your team goes into the playoffs, you get more and more invested.
Oh, yeah.
So to not make the playoffs, that stinks. To lose in the championship is worse in a certain sense. And so
to be the highest record team in the NBA to lose in historic fashion.
That's not good. But like my point is like to have low expectations and not even make the playoffs, whatever. Like that's just normal for certain teams. But to have an expectation to go farther and then it not go well, or even when you do win, you win and nobody actually cares. That either of those, whether it's a defeat in the finals or a victory and a week later the parade's over and nobody cares, somehow both of those feel harder than not even making the playoffs. And it's that level of anticipation that leads to that like regret of, or was it worth it?
Was it worth it?
Like, no, this was another Ironman thing for me was, at peak training time, I was putting probably 20 hours a week into training. I got a wife and kids at home.
Yeah.
And they support me and they come out and they cheer. That was another high this week is my kids were coming to church on Sunday. My wife was driving them and they saw some sort of bicycle race. And so they rolled down the windows and they were cheering and honking. And I love that was normal for my kids. Like, oh, people are racing. We're going to cheer for them. Not like, who are these idiots on the road?
Yeah. That's awesome.
So my family's really supportive of my like athletic endeavors. But I kind of had to wrestle with as I'm, kind of moping around going, gosh, I just gave up how many hours of family time to get a medal that's just sitting in a box in my garage. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And so there's another regret of all the investment in the thing. Did it live up to it? Did I do my best? And even if it did and I did, was it worth it? Like, I don't know. I feel like that with Easter.
Yeah. For me, I'd say most of the time, yes. I think there
You're
are.
so positive, Shane. You should have some candy corn.
When I was in 7th grade, I did win the Optimist Award. So
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
I peaked when I was 12. No, but I do think, like, I think most of the time you could say, like, was it worth it? Yeah. Like, there were experiences, memories made that defined you in those moments.
Yeah.
But I think there are times, like, I think there are bad things you could work towards. Like, I think there are. Like, I don't know. I can't think of an example, but
we don't want to embarrass anybody who's listening right now.
Yeah.
People in different spots.
But I think there are things that you do in life that, like even collectively as, like, groups of, like, people, we'd say, like, that's not good. And, like, they're working towards a terrible cause.
Yeah.
I don't know. But, like, I think there are kind of things like that. But I think most things, like, things you're working towards, like, yeah, like, they're good things. They're things you can be proud of looking back at.
Yeah. So you really lean towards, like, the celebration. We did it, the memories, the relief that it's over, but it was a good thing that we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I think that because part of what makes us human are things that drive us. And if you don't have that, it's kind of like, well, then what are you doing? I mean that, like, in some ways, like, maybe you're just working towards retirement, and you're that world, like, that's what you're working towards. Like, you want to live a comfortable life when you're older. Like, all right,
great,
yeah. But I think most people have, like, mini goals, like, within their life, like, that they're.
Yeah, but I will say, for retirement's a good example of it. For some people, they hit it and it was everything they hoped it would be.
Yeah.
And other people, it's like, oh, well, now what? Like, I don't have my colleagues anymore. I don't have purpose. I don't have worth. I'm not contributing anymore. Like, I'm bored. And other people are like, oh, this is what I've been working for.
Yeah. I think it's just interesting. I think it's part of the perspective too. I think there are, like you're saying, you feel grief. That. I did also think of a kind of a different kind of goal thing that. So I was thinking, so, like, let's say you're remodeling your house in some way. Yeah.
A lot of planning, a lot of labor.
A lot of, like, I don't know.
You put up with a lot of crap to get through it.
You put up with a lot. Your house is just not the same for a long period of time. There's a lot of sacrifice. But in some way, like, I guess when that remodel's finished, it's done. But in that kind of goal, like, you live in that now. Yeah. And so, like, it's a little different in that, like, it's not done and then you're just moving on. Like, you're done and you get to, like, experience it. Yeah.
I guess I was saying weddings earlier, and I think marriage can be like that. I guess especially as pastor, I feel like a very clear distinction between a marriage and a wedding. Yeah. So you have the big day, and then you're married, and you get to enjoy it. But the wedding itself is a one and done kind of, like, was it the spectacle you wanted to be or not?
Yeah. But that makes sense. Like, I think they're two different, but they go hand in hand. But you can have your wedding day could have flopped. Yeah. Oh no, but your marriage is incredible. Like, it can happen.
I like, by the way, Shane, you said something a minute ago that sounded obvious to you or normal to you that maybe isn't normal for everybody. You said something along the lines of, like, you have the goal and then you go on to the next one, you go on to the next one. Like, you always got something that you're reaching for and driving toward. Yeah. I think people are often looking forward to something, but I'm meeting more people or being more aware of people who they how do I say this? The fact that I usually have a big thing I'm, like, really excited and working hard for, like, that overwhelms them. They're like, just relax, just live. You don't have to have, like, it sounds exhausting to them. Yeah. That I'm always chasing some new big thing.
Yeah. And I think I think
so. Not everybody does that.
You don't have to be, like, pursuing something and driving towards something 100, like, full force. But I think each person subtly does in some ways.
Yeah, we're looking forward to stuff.
Yeah, that could even be a Netflix series you're watching. Like, you don't even realize, like, you're motivating yourself to finish this series, like, or a book or a movie. Like, like that was your goal kind of in that moment.
Yeah.
It's not as big as an Iron Man, but like
It's not a competition, Shane.
yeah. But like but that does kind of make me think. I'm just kind of thinking, processing this now. But like there's been plenty of like movies, series, like books like that I've read. Like when it was done, it was like, oh, that's it. Like I have this feeling in my heart, like, oh, that's just it. Like
That's a great example.
yeah, but like. I guess that's where I'd feel a little bit more grief. Is that like in the end of like a story?
I love that. Yeah, Netflix is where you feel the grief. Like Shane gets his sad feelings at Netflix, not people or relationships. But when that TV show's over, that's where it hurts.
That's what really matters. You know?
So that's an outstanding example because I feel that I was so into it, not just the story, but like the characters and invested in them. And then it's over. And there's certain shows where they can't and shouldn't do more. Mm-hmm. And some try to do more and it's not good. But even when I know they shouldn't and can't, I wish they did.
Yeah.
Like, but I know they can't, and I don't want them to. You know, like I don't know, like The Office or Breaking Bad.
It has a clear beginning.
It needed
and
to stop.
Yeah. And I think I feel grief with that maybe because I'm not in control of it. And so like other like goals that we've been talking about so far, like you've been in control more or less of like the direction that it goes, and you in some ways define your goal and expectation for it. But when it comes to like a story, it's completely in the author's discretion, or like where they took it. So
there's a book I really enjoy called Every Moment Holy, and it's these prayers, and they use the word liturgies for all kinds of normal lives. There's a couple volumes. Actually, a third volume's coming out. The middle volume's all about grief and hope and death. And the first one is about all kinds of random stuff. Like here's a prayer for the keeping of bees or changing diapers, all kinds of stuff.
Literally everything.
All kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But there's one in there, and if I'd thought about this, I would have brought it, that it's like a prayer or a liturgy for when you finish a good story. To process that, like I've walked with these characters and now we're saying goodbye. It's just like a moment of like, let's just pause and acknowledge we've done some life together and now we're not going to, and there are feelings that come with that.
Yeah. I like that. That's beautiful. Like to turn that around and just to say like,
let's give thanks for this.
Yeah.
We did something. Let's
be thankful for this and the opportunity that it was. Like, I love that.
And so that I guess that's really kind of where I didn't have we usually don't have agendas. We're just having a conversation, but feels like really good resolution to me and for me, for you, for people watching or listening, that just to acknowledge when you're striving towards something, that's great. It sounds cliche, but the journey is going to be as important as the thing itself. But really, that's to me like the race day. Race day is just having fun. The training was like that's where I lived in that for months.
Yeah, that does remind me too. My music teacher, my voice teacher in college, he always told me, you're not going to be a professional performer. You're going to be a professional practicer, because that's where you've spent most of your time.
Yeah,
that reminded me.
Great.
Reminded me of that. Sorry.
So when you got something you're working towards, like enjoy the journey. But like know ahead of time, you might have a lot of different feelings in and around the event. So when you're getting closer to the thing, if you want it to just be over, that's okay. You don't have to feel guilty about wanting to get past it. Yeah. If you want to pat yourself on the back and say, I'm proud of myself because I worked hard, good, you should be. If you're sad that it's over, that's okay. If you regret that it didn't go as well as you wanted to, that's okay. And maybe like not just saying that's okay, but anticipate those things, that as I get ready for this big thing and as the big thing just happened, I'm going to just be still for a minute, maybe turn the TV off, maybe go for a walk and acknowledge the journey, acknowledge what it feels like today, what it might feel like tomorrow. Yeah. Maybe even share with somebody else, hey, I'm really sad that this thing is over and I'm really proud of how it went. Yeah, I love that. Like, just, it's okay to have emotions. Yeah. At the end of these things, whatever they may be. Yeah. It's okay. But I'd say regret is the one, like, you shouldn't
I think there can be regret. That's probably the worst feeling you could have at the end of something.
Well, I would say just because it feels bad doesn't mean you shouldn't.
That's true.
I mean,
Yeah.
Don't make me feel bad about feeling bad about it. Like, I regretted that this didn't go well.
Yeah.
Like, that's true.
True. And maybe some ways that will make you better in the future.
To name that.
This does make me think a little, because I'm going to see if Hebrews 12. I want to make it too, like,
bring it in the Bible. Bring it in the Bible.
Well, like Hebrew, because
from memory. I don't see one on the table here, Shane.
It's my confirmation verse, so I have to remember it.
All right.
But like Hebrews 12, verses 1 and 2, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us run this race with perseverance. And I think like a lot of people, maybe not a lot of people, some people, maybe you, anyone, kind of feels like life is enough of a goal and journey in some ways. And so I need goal. I need a lot of goals. Oh yeah. But I think there are people who do feel like life enough is like just push until the end. Like, and at least for me, that's what gives me a lot of solace and like hope. And like I do believe life in some ways is a goal. Like when I'm older and just have this life behind me, like you're gonna look back at it and you're gonna say like, did I do everything I could? Like, do I have regrets? Like, am I proud of this? Were the memories worth it? Like, and I think some people like kind of have this like, and that's it. But for me, like, there's more to it. And like my life and my belief, like, where like I'm pressing towards this goal, not just to complete it, but to have this vocation behind it of like to call and go and make disciples and just. And like for me, that's more of a hope. Like the Phil Wickham song "Hymn of Heaven," the line that gets me every time, like, and in the end, we'll say that it was worth it. That's just like such a beautiful line that I love. Like, because like
and in the end, we'll say that it was worth it.
Yeah, because like when we're standing before the saints of God, like, and in the end, like everything we've done on here on earth, like we can say to God, like it was worth it. Like. That like is such a beautiful like goal oriented like I don't know like that so like to bring like this all to like a kind of a moment of like faith or belief like that's kind of like that's it at the top of like mine, like all these other like goals and maybe some ways to me like some like you can look back like they don't matter or like it means nothing, but like it's part of this journey, but this journey is all part of something bigger still.
Yeah.
So
that's cool, Shane.
I don't think it has anything to, but I feel like I had to share it because like,
I don't know. I love it. Maybe we could wrap up here. Anything you're looking forward to right now that you're kind of working towards? Not just looking forward to, but specifically you're putting energy towards a moment.
Yeah. I think for me kind of right now is, I want to, current goal for me right now at the moment, handbells and choir has like a set end date for the season before it restarts again, and Labor Day, whatever. And for me, that's kind of like it's not a big project, but like it's still a decent amount of planning I'm putting into like let's like end the year well and like
a finale.
So that we can look back like what a good season that was.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a goal as of right now that working towards and I could be honest too, like I'm looking I want it to be good at the end, but I'm also excited like we get a break.
There'll be relief when it's over.
There'll be relief. Like we can feel both of those feelings.
Yeah, cool.
So that's it for me.
Okay.
I'll swing it back to you.
I usually have a few things I'm working on. One that feels immediate right now is I'm hoping to run around Mount Rainier this summer.
Ooh.
And I've conceded that this is going to have to be on 3 consecutive Saturdays rather than 3 consecutive days.
3 consecutive Saturdays.
So it's about 93 miles around, and I was hoping to do like Thursday, Friday, Saturday and run around the whole thing.
Yeah.
But for a number of reasons, I think I'm going to end up doing, one set, run 50K on a Saturday, drive home for the week, go back the next Saturday, do the next third, go back the next Saturday, do the final third. which is still going to be nothing to sneeze at. 31 miles on 3 consecutive Saturdays in the mountains.
Oh, that's still, like over 30 miles?
Yes, each day. Yeah, so 93-ish total. So that's,
wow.
I think,
this summer.
I'm hoping to do that in August.
Okay.
But I need to start training. That's like,
I was going to say, you just cut a marathon that was 30 and have so you're going to do that 3 times.
Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah.
I believe in you, but
thank you. So that's my goal. I'm also ramping up youth gathering work. So that's 2025. So that one doesn't feel real yet. I mean, there's real work to be done, but it doesn't feel very
distant.
Concrete. Yeah. And then one last one is Charlotte and I are going to have our 18th anniversary this summer.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
So I think, like when for birthdays, they call your golden birthday when the number of years is the same as the day. So like October 30th is my birthday. Oh, so my 30th birthday was like my golden birthday.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what anniversary means. I think your golden anniversary is like when it's 50 years. But we've been calling it our golden anniversary because that sounds fun.
I think that's fun.
So I'm trying to plan a little vacation. Yeah. And so that feels like a one-off kind of, not like an athletic achievement goal, but a planning, organizing towards a specific thing. And then we'll go back to work the next day.
Yeah.
So that, so there's a fitness one, there's a professional one, and there's a personal one.
But you want to make it something good.
Yeah.
Like worthwhile.
So besides my daily life and other things, those are 3 of my goals.
Yeah.
Like I say, some people get exhausted just thinking about having too many goals. And that's okay. Other people are like, that's all you're doing? Suck it up.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that too.
It goes both ways. But I love it. This is motivating in some ways to kind of just talk about goals.
Yeah.
Things you're working towards.
And it'll end, and that'll be okay too.
Yeah.
And you can feel all kinds of feelings after that.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say this, if you're at home listening to this on your own or with somebody, like, I'd say try talking about it with someone. Try talking about goals that you've finished or goals that you're working towards now, or the things that have happened in the past that you can say that, how did you feel at the end of it when it was said and done?
Yeah. And invite your friends and family into your experience. So if you know you tend to experience something in a certain way and there's something coming up, invite them into that. So it might be, hey, I'm likely going to be sad for a few days after this thing. I don't need you to cheer me up. I just want you to acknowledge that the thing is over and that's sad. I'm really, really proud of the work I put into this. I don't want to look like I'm boasting afterwards, but I want you to know, like, I want to celebrate that the thing happened. My guess is your people are going to love you and be super supportive, but they also don't know what you're feeling or how they can support you. So if you know how people can support you, I think just invite them into that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just have the conversation.
Yeah,
it'll be good for you.
Yeah, have the conversation and take the time. And that's, I think, taking the time is a hard thing, and that's one of the things, Shane, I really enjoy about recording this with you, which we don't always do. By the way, thanks for listening, people, and being patient. Sorry we don't get it out every single week, but this is one spot where just me and Shane and I, we have time for a conversation, which is such a joyful thing for me, and hopefully modeling for other people of you can create time. Shane and I, we don't have a map. We don't have an agenda. We don't have a script. In case you couldn't tell, this is not a scripted podcast. Yeah. We're like, hey, you want to talk about this thing? Yeah. And then we just talk about the thing. We carve out an hour and a half to set it up and talk about it. And it's good for me every time.
Oh, I love it.
So if you're listening, if you're watching, I'm glad you're listening and watching. I would be just as glad if you never listened or watched again and you took the same hour and a half and you had a conversation face to face with somebody.
I like that.
Yeah. So stop listening. Go call your friends.
There you go.
See you next week.
We'll make it easy for you. We're out.
We're out. All right. We might even take a week or two off to force you. Who knows?
Who knows? All right. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you all next time. Have a good day.
That's the end of the episode, but we want to continue the conversation. Continue the conversation by sharing this episode, subscribing, or leaving a review. Connect with us on Instagram at 2414podcast. Connect with us through email at 2414 at stlukes-church.com. Or best of all, keep the conversation going by inviting someone to process with you so that you can each walk away with more understanding that leads to more conversation as the journey continues. If you happen to be in the Seattle-Tacoma area of Washington, stop by on a Sunday morning and say hi. 2414 is a podcast produced by St. Luke's Lutheran Church in Federal Way, Washington. To find more content, discover upcoming opportunities to connect in person, or to support the show, head on over to stlukes-church.com. Thanks for walking with us.